Welcome to the Third Man Up podcast, your one-stop shop for the serious and not so serious side of Australian sports. Join the lads as they discuss what's going on in the world of sport and preview all of this weekend's action. Now, here are your hosts, AFL media superstar Peter Spider Everitt and the world-class amateur Brody Burrows.
Welcome to another week of the Third Man Up podcast. I'm your co-host, Brody Burrows, and with me is the one and only Spider Everitt. How are we doing this week, Spide?
I don't really know. It's an emotional roller coaster. I feel like I'm going around Luna Park on that old ride, that rickety ride, the one that made out of wood, and we're going up and down and around and on and on. I don't like to try and pick 9. It's a tough gig in the AFL, but that's what I love. Like, it's so good at the moment that anybody can really beat anybody on their given day, other than probably 2 or 3. But it's just it's a mind stuff.
It is. And I think I've looked around and the average score for tips over the weekend was 4. Four tips out of 9.
That's right. You got average and I got average. I got 4, you got 4. So
we are a couple of average blokes, so it probably filters down.
Absolutely. Perfect. So they're right. So yeah, no, it's fantastic, isn't it? You look at, there's so much to talk about, so much to unpack in 1 week of footy, yet we've got to start looking at the week ahead.
Somehow we do. And before we get into that, what'd you get up to on the weekend, mate?
What did I do over the weekend? No, I was down in Melbourne actually, and I took my young fella driving. He's got his learners.
Oh,
and we got up early Sunday morning and we went for a drive around Melbourne. And I've got 4 kids. This is the first time ever I've sat in the passenger seat looking after a learner driver, and I just shit my pants the whole hour and a half. It was the worst time. He's a good driver, great driver. One little mistake, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's a red," and he had to brake. But it's not me sitting in that passenger seat.
Nah, and it's probably a little bit more nervous for him because you'll be criticising every little thing that he does as well.
See, his mum's like that. His mum carries on like a 2-bob watch. I was too scared to say anything. He said to his mum when he got home, he was like, "Dad didn't say a word." I was just watching his foot, making sure it was on the pedal when we're coming towards red lights. And yeah, so what about yourself?
No, I actually played footy on the weekend. We've got smashed by injury at the moment, so required to play and pretty sore, still feeling the effects from it from the weekend, but I'll be shaping up again this weekend. But in other news, Swanee Mania, Dane Swan came to our neck of the woods, played a game for Ellison Districts at Poocher on the weekend, and he brought just about the whole Eyre Peninsula with him by the sounds.
Yeah, well, Swanee, he's a great character, isn't he? And what you see with all the tattoos is totally different. I know he's gone and had his troubles, but when he goes to a local club like functions with Swanee, he's a great fella and he gives everything. And I can't believe he's still playing, but mind you, he's only been out of the game a few years.
He has, but on the weekend he finished with 4 goals and think about just as many points, and he passed off a few from all reports, and he was played well on the ground and also did a decent job off the ground from all reports. So
yeah, him and the Ellison District. Was he with Ricky Nixon?
Yeah, he was. Yep. No, the Chicken and Swan show descended down onto Chook Park.
He does a good show, Swanee, and he's an interesting character. I don't know. Yeah, Ricky would have been interesting to listen to too. But yeah, I heard that you're saying that just fully you couldn't get a standing room only, which is great for local footy. You just don't see those kind of crowds at local footy anymore. So fantastic for the kids, fantastic for the local economy. And who wins out of this? The Canberra. That's the biggest winner.
They are known to drink a fair bit of rooster juice up there at Ellison District, which is the Jack Daniels, as they call it, the rooster juice. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. The JD. Wow. No. I'll have to get there one day myself.
Yeah, I think prepare yourself for a couple of days beforehand. But we'll get into this week's rounds of games, mate. But before we do that, I just want to bring in a new segment, and it's some animal facts.
Oh.
Yes. So this week I've thought, we'll over the next few weeks, we're going to some of the fastest land mammals. And this week I've actually gone in, we'll start off with reptiles, the 5 fastest reptiles. So in 5th place, you got the black mamba, can move at 23 Ks an hour. So you wouldn't want to be chased by the black mamba.
No.
In 4th place, the leatherback sea turtle, believe it or not.
Oh.
can go at 34 kilometers an hour
The
underwater.
sea turtle. I got
Yep.
another fact about it, an interesting fact about sea turtles.
Yep. What's that?
They breathe through their ass.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm being serious.
Yeah.
So if you follow the NRL and you know Johnny Hopewate,
Yeah.
he could suffocate that turtle just by giving it a
little clip up the bottom.
I wouldn't want to give it mouth to mouth. I know that much.
No, I don't think so. Be full of shit. In third place, you got the green iguana who can move at 35 k's an hour.
Oh, getting up there.
Yep. Second place, the bearded dragon at
Oh,
40,
yeah.
40 k's an hour.
Very
Now,
famous.
In first place. Now, this one's been just recently discovered, and it's actually native to Australia.
Yeah.
Yep, located in the Sydney CBD, and that's the lizard Nick Blakey.
he is too. He is.
Oh, Friday night, mate, he was just outstanding for him, and the Blues couldn't catch him. He was just starting through the middle of the ground, and how he didn't get that best on ground medal was simply beyond me.
Nah, he was, and he's had a good year. He's had he's a good young player. He's been in the system now a few years, but as you say, when he backs himself, he's quick, he's lizard-like, and no doubt he's a reptile to the opposition. I like it. I like the animal facts.
But well done to the Sydney Swans and Carlton. They've got the Blues, and shit's going down there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually really fascinating to watch now. You saw it start to ravel a little bit with Cripps and Voss a couple of weeks ago, and then you see Matherson step down off the board, and now there's a lot of talk about Mackay, and there's the tweet going around. You're saying that about Richo showing Mackay how to actually kick. All these facts, and then Cripps coming out and saying, we didn't stay at a different hotel. We stayed with the players until after the boys went home. Then we stayed up at Sydney for a couple of days. So you know what? It just keeps people just keep shoveling it on. So tough time, tough year ahead. Tough. Like they're sitting in 13th. People were destined to, they're going to play finals. They're a team that are playing finals, but at the moment they are shocked. And even Cripps is probably injured. Yeah, he's out now. So you kind of sit there and go, what's going to happen with Carlton?
And I think you look at their list and you go through it and say, that's nearly a top 4 side, let alone a final side. That's nearly a top 4 side.
Yeah, I reckon they're a little bit ahead of themselves, top 4. I was surprised that I always believed there would have been between 6 and 10. There's all those group of clubs that are around that money, but the way they're going at the moment, and confidence plays a magnificent role in any football club. And you go through their team and they are just lacking confidence, and you get a couple of goals up on them and they're going to struggle. Like, to hold that mental edge and build your own enthusiasm, which they say, to do that for 4 quarters is always hard. You get a good start on them, drop their heads, and very hard to come back.
As hard as it was for Carlton, full respect has to go to Sydney here. They've, hopefully that's the kickstart that they needed after the week before where they nearly lost the unlosable against North Melbourne. It's hopefully this really kickstarts their season. They've got such a young, exciting list, and hopefully they can only build from here.
Yeah, absolutely. They need that. And there was all that speculation about Buddy, get rid of him, but he's as soon as they're winning, he's kicking a couple of goals. He's a superstar again. So that's the fun ride we're on throughout an AFL season. But I did love my mate, and Fieldsy, Carlton man. He declared them. He said, Carlton will not lose. They cannot lose. This is he's absolutely cherry right from small oval, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Halfway through the third quarter, all I got was a text, I'm over this shit.
Along with every other Carlton supporter. But we'll go from one of your sides having a win to your other side. You're probably getting the win just snatched underneath their nose by the Hawks, mate.
Yeah, by another side. So I play with every one of these sides. Yeah. I can't lose, really. I'll just, I'm happy either way. But look, disappointing the Saints. But, we always declared that Hawthorn always in the race. They always challenge you. They will play 4 quarters. A couple of times they'll get blown away because they're a young team. But normally they do have a pretty good crack at sides above them. And the Saints were there for the taking, and they were able to really capitalise. The Saints were, pretty putrid as well at certain stages of the game. They didn't capitalise enough themselves. But, when you look at, the 2 teams, the Saints should have ran all over them and just let them in As soon as you let Hawthorn in, they get a bit of a wind up. They're hard to stop. And, Sicily, what do you have, about 112 touches or something?
43 disposals and 22 intercept possessions. So if you ever want to describe a James Sicily game to someone, that was exactly a report, a best on-ground performance, whinging, carrying on, but playing really good footy. Now, that's James Sicily in a nutshell, isn't it?
And that's all you want from him. But, and they're still lucky that, the Hawks didn't kick straight. So, good game. Good game by the Hawks.
It was. And do you reckon the Saints are starting to come back to the pack a little bit?
Well, absolutely. And this is the test. This is the moment, this is the Ross Lyon moment that you say, okay, you've got a good coach. You've had a real good run. You've come to the bye, settle down, regroup. They would be happy with where they're at after the bye, or to get to the bye at that stage. Now it's what can they do after the bye. And they've got a pretty good run. There's a few clubs with a tough run. Saints have got an okay run. And, it kind of suits them, but still, you've got to win games. If you're losing against the bottom four, it's going to make it a lot harder for you.
Yeah, without a doubt. And this next game, so a few weeks ago, we sort of we mentioned something that since Fremantle brought out the Purple Haze, the beer, they haven't lost. So
they haven't lost.
So what you know what
No way.
I've made a little order, and
how did you get that?
Good friends down at Pirate Life, and I'm going to give it do a bit of a live tasting and tell you if it's all it's cracked up to be right now.
It cold?
So, yeah, it's cold. I've had it in the fridge all leading up to this. So let's find out.
All right, here we go. Oh, there's nothing better. That is the best sound in the world.
Oh, that is good.
Is it?
That is some good stuff. So I reckon they've got that in the water bottles. They have a taste of that, and they just say, here we go. Here we go, boys.
The Purple Haze in the water bottles.
Yeah,
but they haven't lost since they've released that. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's actually quite a nice beer. I'm not just saying that. That's a pretty lovely beer. And in all seriousness, though, the Dockers are they're on fire at the moment, aren't they? The way that they move the ball off half back, lost Sean Darcy early, and Luke Jackson coming up against his old side, just got the chockies.
Yeah, look, this is deja vu for me, because I was at this game exactly 12 months ago where they ran over Melbourne in exactly the same fashion. Who would have thought they were able to do it again? You thought Melbourne would have learned. You put these two sides on paper, and there's no way you can pick Fremantle.
No.
Now they've come back, and Melbourne have got a couple of
issues.
Melbourne's really got some issues. They've come back to the pack, and when you look at them on paper, I think they've got to start really considering the role of a couple of their players. Their players might be a little bit happy where they're sitting and just not giving, you've got your Petrarca and Olivers, but they can't do it each and every week all the time. There's got to be other players that step up. So it's going to be interesting to see what Melbourne does. But at the moment, the Dockers, what can they do wrong? They can do nothing wrong. The big question there is, we saw Nathan Buckley in the coach's box. There's a lot of speculation going around there. He was in the rooms. That's an interesting one. But sometimes they invite the media in to have a look, to give them advice, to have a look, see what they're doing wrong, see what they're doing right. So it could be as easy as that. But as us in the media, we want to pump things up and say, no, it's more than just that.
We do. And obviously Nathan Buckley, Justin Longmuir used to be Nathan Buckley's assistant back there at Collingwood, and obviously used to play with each other too. So it's good to see. Hopefully, I think a few Collingwood fans and maybe even a few Richmond fans are maybe licking their lips with, seeing that a little bit. So
I think Bucks will come back.
Hopefully he does. He's such a good, at the moment, I think he's one of the best media figures going around. He's level-headed, which is something you don't see in the AFL media nowadays.
Yeah. There's some big heads out there, isn't there?
Yeah,
and
but
most of them haven't even played footy.
Nah, and Fremantle, they finally found that young key forward they've been looking for about since Pavlich retired. Young Jai Amos, he's the round 11 rising star, and he just looks like he could be a superstar, I reckon.
And that's it. And that's, off the back of a really slow start and then being able to play a couple of other players. And this is the exciting thing with Fremantle is they've got a lot of young players. They've got a younger list. They've got their quality as well at the top. But, these players are going to leave over the next couple of years. So, Fremantle, to get a couple of wins and to beat Melbourne in Melbourne again, just boost their confidence. And for these young players to play in front of that crowd, on a big stage, it's going to hold them in good stead. Well, we thought that even at the start of the year, but for me, Fremantle's a cracking side. You love to coach them, and I've actually got a question for who would you rather coach a little later on.
Yep, no, that sounds good. Now we'll move into this one. last week on the podcast, you sort of asked the question, who's the MVP in the AFL? And you said Toby Green.
Yeah.
And you must be pretty happy with his performance. Toby Green defeated Geelong, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. And in his 200th game, there's not a better player at the moment, I don't reckon.
Not a more important player.
Not a more important player for a side, Toby Green. And if you're ever playing, GWS at the moment, you'd have to put a hard tag on him. Yep. And we know he can beat him. He's one-on-one above his head. The goal-kicking ability of him is just amazing. His work rate, everything's there. He's a true skipper. He's a true leader. He's kept a level head, might have thrown one or two little jabs, but nothing ridiculous. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed watching him play. I've enjoyed watching the GWS. I thought they were a bit underrated at the start of the year, and they've just been able to, get everything together. Jesse Hogan.
He's been outstanding.
Absolutely. His grabs, and, he's like Jeremy Cameron, gets right up the ground. He'll work his butt off to get up the ground, take some grabs, work his way back. So, yeah, for me, I've really enjoyed watching him play.
And I think if you told anyone halfway through the year that Geelong would be outside the 8, they'd just about hit you in the face and tell you you're dreaming.
It would have been interesting to see what they were not to make the 8. They've got the hardest run home.
They do.
So it's going to be really tough for them with their keys out. You can't just have two big forwards and think you're going to win the game. So, you need a lot more to it. So for me, I think, Geelong, they're at the crossroads at the moment. This is going to be a real tough month for them because they need to get wins and against quality opposition. So hopefully they can bounce back. But, this is probably the difference between a club that plays a lot of younger kids when they're going really well as well, rotating those players. So when this happens, they've got a fair bit of depth to rely on. We thought Geelong had a bit of depth, but you can see not really.
Yeah. Now, this next game up in Darwin, Matt Rowell, I think that's one of the best contested games of football you'll ever see. I think I said that last week about Matt Rowell, but he's just a contested pig in there, isn't he?
No, well, the rumours were that he didn't just have one mouthful of the turf. He actually put it on a dinner plate and said, I'm going to eat this whole thing. He's like Popeye. Popeye eats a spinach. Matt Rowell does that. But, yeah, look, they actually played Darwin really well, the Suns. They won both games up there last year. They go up there for a week. They get around the community. They think is a week too long, but they really do embrace it and enjoy it. I thought the Bulldogs, they were coming off 5 straight wins. They were in really good nick. And, the Suns with, it was hard to pick. I had the two Kings, the King brothers, to kick 4 apiece. And, it kicks 2-2 and the Suns and Lukosius is kicking 5. It's like Kingy, swap with the Lukosius, get closer to the goal square. But, Lukosius was always going to step up at some stage and kick a bag. So, well done to the Suns. And, for me, again, when you look through Matty Rowell, Anderson, Witts, they've got a good side. They've just got to, again, be able to get it all together consistently. And that's their key, is consistency. And,
look, you just mentioned Jared Witts' game. Oh, I think it's probably the first time all year someone has actually beaten Tim English all year, any ruckman. And I think he had 50-something hit-outs against, the premier ruckman in the competition. So you're giving the blokes like Rowell and Anderson, your first choice out of the midfield. You're halfway there to winning the game.
And you haven't got Took Miller, so, they're best on baller. But, for me, Witsy's a big unit. And so is Tommy English. It was a good battle. But Witsy was able to just to get, be able to control the stoppages and just get the ball on his side of the contest, which was what was needed. But, it was good. It was a surprise. I really thought the Bulldogs, but it was great for the Suns.
It was. Now, this next game, Essendon 96 defeated West Coast 46. Probably, as expected, West Coast probably gave a little bit more fight than what they have been previously. But, 3 or 4 extra stars in that Essendon lineup just seems to go a long way, I think.
What about Redmond here?
Oh, he's a superstar, isn't he?
He's a superstar, but he could leave. He could they reckon he could go back to Adelaide.
Yeah, there's some clubs here sniffing.
Adelaide. Yeah, $700,000-$800,000 a year. Like, he's a gun player, but a lot of saying if Adelaide get him, they are absolute Monties for the flag. Yeah. As in, they'll be top 4 for the next couple of years if Adelaide can snag him. So watch this space, but I don't reckon, why would you? I think the Bombers have got some belief in them themselves. I reckon, they've only had a coach this year. They've still got to come into a new trade period, a new draft period. where I reckon they'll bolster their stock. So, it wasn't a massive win by the Bombers. It was a win. They did what they had to do. West Coast is still fine, and we know where West Coast is at. But, Bombers do what they do.
And Zach Merritt, obviously suspended earlier for a dangerous tackle. I'll get into that a little bit later. But he's been in nearly every game. That he's played, I think he's pulled in. In the Brownlow track, I don't think he's got under 24, 25 disposals all year, and he's working harder than he ever has. He's really stepped up as captain this year.
Yeah, well, we'll get into the match review later on because, he is. And you know what? There's a real good group of young blokes coming through. And it's interesting talking to my young fella. He said, do you reckon that because the quality of these young guys coming through, do you reckon they're going to be able to sustain it for 10 or 12 years? Or you reckon the average career will be under 10 years?
That's a really tough one, isn't it? Because but then sports science could, get better in the next, 4 or 5 years as well, and allow those players to maybe play that extra 3 or 4 years. I mean, look at Pendlebury. He could still be playing in 10 years' time the way he's going.
Yeah. So you reckon the guns will, absolutely. You reckon the guns will just remain guns?
I think so, yeah. I think you won't see those role players maybe play the 200 or 250, but you'll still see those, absolute jets play their 250, 300.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Now, it was Port Adelaide. Next game, 77, defeated Tim Taranto, 67.
Yeah, he's been best pickup of the year. I've called it all year. I reckon he's an absolute jet. And this weekend he faces his old side. So it'll be interesting how he goes there. But, kicked 4 goals. And, look, Richmond, they were around the money. They weren't far off. They did. Just when they get the ball on the turnover, they're quick and they can run. They've just got to be able to defend a little bit quicker as well. But still towards the end, you think, they just needed a goal. And then if they get a goal, you know what can happen. They can quickly get 2 and 3. So, but Port Adelaide still tick it off. I just think they're just doing enough at the moment to get themselves to finals and then see what happens. But they're sitting top 4, so they're doing everything right, Port Adelaide. And they've still got a couple to come back. So they've still got to strengthen their team. And
I think with that loss from Brisbane, that could really... we'll get into that in a minute, but that loss from Brisbane and the win for Port Adelaide this weekend, that's going to give them a real top 2 chance. And I don't see Port Adelaide losing a final, to be honest, if it's played at Adelaide Oval.
Yeah,
but that never tears apart. Koshy's quit Sunrise for a reason. He's already planning the Mad Monday if they win.
I'll tell you why Koshy's quit Sunrise a little later on as well. But I'll tell you, that's a big call considering they can't win a final. And then you're saying they won't lose one. Come on.
They're a different side this year. I don't know what it is, but they've got this feeling about him. And I think Ken's just living on the edge a little bit, the way he's coaching. He's a lot more passionate than what he has been in other years. But I had to give Tim Taranto the 3 votes, even though he was in a losing side this week. But Zach Butter's another great game by him.
Yeah, look, they've got a lot of quality as well. They're like Adelaide. Adelaide have got a lot of great young kids, throughout both of their teams. So what they've been able to put together, it will be, imagine those two playing off in the granny.
Yeah.
Adelaide and Adelaide.
That'd be, you could rob any house you want in Adelaide, I think. There won't be anyone home.
And no one in Melbourne would give a shit. So they'd hate life. Melbourne would absolutely be hating life. We'd be all sitting there with our bloody head between our knees, just sulking. And everybody from Adelaide is in Melbourne.
And Port wear the prison bars just to piss off Eddie.
Yeah.
But speaking on
could happen.
It could. Speaking on the Pies, they got the job done against North Melbourne. They probably took the foot off the pedal a little bit in the last probably 10, 15 minutes, but still side bottom 300th game and didn't end the way you wanted.
Nothing more. You get 100 tickets for your family and your friends and everybody comes in and they're all celebrating and big tributes. Get there and do your knee. It's a big deal, but he'll be back by the end of the year. But that's great. It was a great celebration. It's amazing what he's been able to achieve. And I love seeing back at the old footage when he was a young kid and slowly, you can just see by the hairdo, it's getting shorter, then it's off, then it's just bald. But well done. And the Pies, as you say, they are clinical at the moment. And it wasn't a huge, there's betting companies out there saying, because they've got West Coast. Have they got West Coast this weekend?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So the betting companies out there were saying over the 2 weekends, they were giving you $4 for them to win over 200 points in total.
Geez.
So a lot of people would have jumped on that thinking, 100 points North Melbourne, 100 points West Coast. But, North Melbourne held in there pretty well.
Still can't write off a 170-point win this weekend, but
Yeah, you never know.
Jordan De Goey, just want to touch on him. I think he's really embraced this Collingwood side and the way that they're playing. You know, the media scrutiny hasn't been on him. You know, probably he hasn't done anything stupid like he has other years
Because he hasn't
either.
been
But
a dickhead.
yeah,
So he's been actually sensitive.
but
I think you're right. He's bought into what Collingwood are doing. I think Ashcroft must have pulled him, McRae must have pulled him aside and said, you know what? This is it. This is how we play footy. If you want to be a superstar at this football club and earn respect and be a part of finals and playing grand finals and be remembered for a long period of time, this is what you need to do because you're able to do it.
Yeah, nice, spot on. And I think I just want to touch on someone else who played in this game, and it's actually a North Melbourne player, Nick Larkey, kicked 5 goals for North Melbourne. So I actually think he's one of the better forwards in the competition. I reckon if he was playing in a Melbourne or even a Port side who are sort of lacking that extra key forward, he could kick 60 or 70 in a year easy.
This is the hard, and you're just talking about Swanee. And, you know, Swanee said, look, if he played for North Melbourne, nobody would know who he is.
Yeah.
And it's because he played for a big team.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, when you look at Larky like this, you think of, I think of Tommy Lynch.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tommy Lynch, if he was still at the Gold Coast Suns, he wouldn't have been able to achieve what he achieved.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't be the superstar Tommy Lynch. Yeah, he would have kicked a lot of goals, but he wouldn't be the Tommy Lynch we know now. Premiership player, Coleman, I don't know if he's one of...
I think he has.
Has he? But, you know, I mean, like an absolute jet player.
Yeah. Same
can go with Lucky. If, as you say, if he was at a side that's destined to play finals, he'd be an absolute jet. And he, unfortunately, that's just the way it's unfolded. You never know. He might end up at another club and play finals and be a superstar there.
Now, this final game, Adelaide 95 defeated Brisbane Lions at the Crowville. It was absolutely pumping, thanks to Isaac Rankin and Josh Rochelle. How good are those two? Yeah, you'd pay money just to watch them both, wouldn't you?
Isaac Rankin, absolutely. You know, you talk about the Eddie Betts pocket. Eddie Betts is going to be scrubbed off in a year or two. Yeah, he's starting to do that. Eddie Betts is getting nervous because he reckons it's his pocket. But Isaac Rankin, I know he left the Gold Coast Suns, but what Adelaide's been able to do, and sometimes, as much as we bag players going back home, but he looks happy. He looks comfortable. He looks like he is back at home. He's enjoying his footy. Yeah, winning absolutely helps that. But, you know, when you've got all those other, and your man, Jordan Dawson, and, you know, Rochelle, all these players just build into a really good football team, and they're just getting around each other. And, you know, the thing about it is when they're losing, if they can bring the same enthusiasm and stick together, that's the hardest thing. When things aren't going your way, when you're young side, you got to be able to, flow with the punches. So hopefully.
Yeah, and the Crows did a really good job, I thought, on Lachie Neale. He didn't get any of those clean possessions, especially the first quarter. He worked his way into the match, but I think that's key to look at Rory Laird. He doesn't only gather his own, but finished with 16 tackles, and I reckon 14 of them would have had to be on Lachie Neale. He just didn't have any space.
And that's what you need. You need a player to run with, no different to a Nick Dacos. What I reckon they should be doing to Toby Green. Sit on him at stoppage, just keep them accountable, and then when you've got the ball, make them work. Make them work the other way. But then when the ball's turned over, you got to try and find them. So it's tough position to play. But as you say, it helps the team tenfold if you can keep the Lachie Neale not from getting those, those easy marks and easy, kind of pass through player.
Yep. I think the Crows, when you look at premiership sides that are built over a long time, they've got the 3 or 4 stars, but they've got so many good role players. And I feel like this Crow side at the moment has so many players that are happy to get, the 7 or 8 possessions, but shut their man down. I think, and Port are probably in the same boat. And even Brisbane, I feel, they don't have a team full of stars. They've got that 3 or 4 stars and then a bunch of role players who don't care, how many possessions or kicks they get.
It'd be really interesting to sit in an Adelaide Crows team meeting to see what respect a lot of these players get from the coach. Showing all those 1%ers, all those little things they do to fulfill the team plan to beat an opposition. Because we know they analyse it, just to the 10th degree, and every player knows what their role is. And as you say there's a bunch of Adelaide players. If you named them, a lot of people wouldn't even know them.
No.
Yet they're a part of a side that's it's absolutely going somewhere. So yeah, we know the big techs, and Jordan Dawson's really just jumped onto the scene with Keys and a few others. But it's really interesting to sit there and watch them, through a team meeting, to see the praise some of the not lesser likes, but the blokes who just play their role without all the media. It's good to watch at the moment.
It is. Now we'll move into a segment started a few weeks ago, and it's overreaction or spot on. So I'm going to start with a big one here.
Yeah.
And Geelong won't win the premiership this year.
Oh, we kind of said that last year too, didn't we? And they won the last 13 or something ridiculous. I think they do need Guthrie and Dangerfield. I don't reckon they can win it. At the moment, as much as you think they can, well, does anybody think they can? I think you're spot on.
Yeah, I'm got to agree with that one. I think the one difference between now and last year is their injuries they barely had any, and they could afford to rest those players towards the end of the year. Now sitting outside the 8, they can't afford to rest any of these players.
No.
There's going to be people carrying injuries over these last 10 games instead of going the other way.
And they're not as scary as they were 12 months ago.
No way at all.
Because they've got a couple missing, and you kind of sit there and you go, that they are beatable. So, yeah, I think, and even what's his DeConey.
Yes.
And his headset, little things like that. Like he just did not attack the ball. It was just, you only need to be 1 or 2% off, and you're going to struggle at AFL level. And he's still 1 or 2% off.
Yeah, it's nice to see Batman take the field for Geelong on the weekend, calling up the big cunts.
But I was asked by Wacko Jacko one day. I was talking to Jacko, and the nickname Spider-Man. He goes, "You know what you need to do?" I said, "What's that?" He goes, "You need to play a game in a Spider-Man balaclava." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You'll get attention all around the world. It'll be the best marketing thing you could ever do. Playing a Spider-Man balaclava." I said, "Okay, I'll try that, Jacko."
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Jacko. He's a man of many great ideas. Now, this next one, when Tasmania enter the competition in 2028, there's going to be 2 rounds in the middle of the year where there's no football, because there's only going to be 19 rounds of football throughout the year. State of Origin should be brought back.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love State of Origin being brought back. And I think a lot of people would get behind it. And I think it'd be a great concept. I don't think it will happen, though.
Yeah.
I think the players the clubs are too fickle with their players. They've got 2 weeks off or a week off. They're able to then, just not your Jets. And that's what hurt AFL in the first place, was the big line, the big name players started to pull out.
Yep.
And when you aren't playing the best of the best, like New South Wales and Queensland in the NRL, it's got to be the best of the best.
Yeah.
The best of the best aren't playing. It will never work. And unfortunately, as much as I love it, it won't happen.
No. Then there'll need to be a lot of financial backing behind it for it to actually happen, and a lot of marketing for it to happen correctly. But they got 4 years up their sleeve. Who knows?
Overrated.
And last one, Jared Witts is criminally underrated.
He's not by us. He's not by the big man.
But up there on the Gold Coast, probably hear a little bit more. Here in South Australia and even in Victoria, you hear nothing about Jared Witts. And consistently over the last 5 years, he's been amazing.
Yeah, he is. He come off a knee injury as well, did his knee, come back, and he's really finding his feet, finding his form. He's a big unit. He's a big unit. He can get forward and kick goals as well. Yep. If I was the Suns, I wouldn't be taking him to the bench. I'd be playing him forward. You've got Casbolt and Chol. I would be saying, you know what, you boys, don't worry about it. You probably don't give us enough. Where Witts deep in the goal square, 1 out, he's going to be hard to beat, and he can kick straight. Very similar, not as mobile as Big Cox at Collingwood, but can play that role. But yeah, when you're having 51 hit outs, giving your team first use. But he's rated here on the Gold Coast. It's just that there's a lot of media outlets too. Don't forget, just
lost you there, mate. Hang on.
Just don't. Did I do something?
Nah, we'll just keep. You got me again now?
Did I knock something?
Hang on. You there now? Oh, I can hear you now.
You there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Kind of. Wait a second.
Hello.
You there?
Yep, I'm here. Are you?
What's happened? How come I can't hear now?
I can.
You
hang
can
on.
hear me, all right?
Is that better now? Hello.
What's happened? I mean, how's that?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yep.
Yeah, I can now. Yeah.
Yep. No, that's all right.
I'll just quickly pick it up and say, yeah, he's not underrated here on the Gold Coast. I know that a lot of media just underrate Ruckman, and they have for generations. And it's about time it changed. I can bang on about that each and every week on this, but yeah, no, Witsy's a great fella too.
Yeah, he is. And I love watching him at the end of games. He looks absolutely spent and like he just wants to go and lay down for the next 3 hours. A big fella. He gives everything on that field.
Yeah, he does. He's a big unit. As I mentioned, he's a big unit. So, yeah, we love him.
Now, on the weekend, we had a coach, obviously, who, stepped away from the Richmond Football Club, Dimmer Hardwick, last weekend.
Yeah.
And, by all reports, you
Well, it's interesting because I saw him post a photo. I'm just having a look here. I saw him post a photo.
Yep.
And he's sitting on the couch with his dog.
Yeah.
He had a stone and wood in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually he just posted it, but I've got a little bit of a couple of other quotes that people might not have seen throughout the day that Dimmer posted. And to all his fellow followers. So just on social media. And one of them wrote, he said, at number 5, I'll kick it off at number 5.
Yep, number 5.
He said, your Ruckman has the most tackles in a team, you understand why we lose or why you lose.
And why you step away from football.
Nothing against Stan Curvis, but our Ruckman getting the most tackles, please.
Yeah.
And then at number 4, he wrote, you've got the Giants, Freo, St Kilda before the bye. I'll drink to that now that I'm not coaching. Okay. At number 3, he said, things are starting to fall into place. You see, I quit. Koshy quits. Here I come, sunrise. Dimmer's minute of business.
That would be good viewing, I reckon.
Yeah, Dimmer on sunrise. At number 2. Okay. Porter's still winning, and I can't believe it. I think back to 2004 when we won the flag with the worst team ever. No, this is just what Dimmer's writing. He's had a couple of stone and woods by this stage.
Yep.
I reckon he's had quite, this was during the last quarter, and he'd tucked away a few.
Yep.
And he goes, finally, where has this been? AFL 23 on PlayStation. It's so much easier. It's so much more rewarding. If the players shit me, I can just turn it off. And Matty Richardson even kicked straight.
And that's how you know it's a fake game. Richo's kicking goals from everywhere.
There you go. There's Dimmer's 5 responses while watching the game with a couple of stone and woods.
Nah, that is perfect. And he's a great man. He looked to be enjoying it on that couch, didn't he? I don't think he would have moved much, but knowing Dimmer, I reckon he wouldn't be able to help himself in that TV, and hopefully not the dog. Might have copped a hammering.
Yeah, you would have yelled and screamed at that telly, but well done to Dimmer. Good way to watch the footy.
It was. So we're going from something funny, and I'm about to go off here, Spide. I'm not real happy about some things that are going on. I was about.
Yeah.
I won't drop the F-bomb just yet, but the bloody MRO. How ridiculous is this getting?
Okay, what are you not happy with? Which part of it?
You can tackle a bloke normally, and you try and slow them down. They're going to land on their head sometimes.
Yeah.
It's footy. It's been happening for 100 years, and now the players they know what's going on and how to actually get a dangerous tackle free. They're getting grabbed, and they're actually turning their body and throwing their heads down into the ground, causing a free kick, and then these players are getting suspended. The Rory Laird one on the weekend, how that was given one game. Zach Merritt got one early in the year.
Yeah.
I've got him 3rd currently in the Brownlow medal. If it comes to Brownlow medal night and he's rubbed out from winning a Brownlow medal for a shit decision like that, It's a bloody disgrace. They've gone overboard with this lawsuit that's happening with concussions. And at the moment, anytime a head hits the ground, they just want to call a suspension.
Yeah, and this is I'm with you. It's really hard to predict, and players start to fall for it. Players start to play for it. Start to themselves and pull themselves around and into the ground, like thinking, okay, I can get a free here, not thinking penalty. Remember a few years ago with the tripping rule or running. I got a week for running into an umpire. Yet you know, I mean, like it wasn't anyone's fault. It was just it was the circumstances of how it unfolded. So I'm with you. It's really frustrating. It's hard playing for that free kick rule. It's like all these different rules. Players and coaches and that are smart enough, you know, and like a forward, when you know you're getting tackled and you lift up your arm and then their arm goes against your, too high. How many times have we seen that paid? So, yeah, I'm with you. It's frustrating. I think the match review panel have to be a little bit smarter and have to be more educated on saying, you know what, we can see what they're trying to do. We can see how they've tried to tackle. If it's absolutely a sling tackle 2 years ago, no, absolutely.
Yeah, give it to them.
Not, you can't, what can you do?
Nah. And we all know if this was to happen in a prelim final, these guys aren't getting games. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So why are you doing it during a regular season? If Rory Laird did that, Crows are playing prelim final. If Nick Dacos tackles someone like that, prelim final, Collingwood make the grand final, there's no way in hell the AFL would rub out Nick Dacos or Scott Pendlebury or, a big caliber name for a tackle like this.
Remember it happened a few years ago, probably about 12, 15 years ago. Well, yeah, even longer with Barry Hall. Well, must have been the 05.
Yeah.
I can't remember what his incident was, but, free Barry, let him play. And, thing will happen. If it does go during the finals, they'll go to a court of law, they'll go to a higher court of law, and that's when it starts to get ugly. So you still need to start to hit in the butt now and say, you know what, enough's enough.
Look at Patrick Cripps with the Brownlow. It took three different appeals, I think, and finally got off in at the court, and he ended up winning the Brownlow out of it. But we'll move on from my little Brody Goes Bang, and we'll go into this week's Spider Bite, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's that time of the week where we find out what's been grinding the big fella's gears. It's time for Spider Bites.
You know what fascinates me right now? It's really interesting, and I'm talking about some people stepping away from the game for, to try and give themselves some breathing space. We've seen Clarko say, I'm stepping away. Yep. We've seen Dimmer, I've had enough, I'm stepping away. They've even told West Coast, Adam
Simpson.
Yep, Simo, step away. Take your time away. We even saw Mark McGowan.
Yeah.
The Premier of WA say, look, it's all getting too hard. I'm going to step away. But what gets me is another bloke who keeps stepping up. He's gone the opposite direction. He doesn't care what people say. And I'm going to celebrate this bloke. And he's been kicked in the gut so many times, yet he's still coming back for more. And he still loves it. He just keeps coming back and back and back. And I'm talking about Brett Ratton. Yeah. Brett Ratton is an absolute jet. Yeah, he got kicked in the guts by the Saints at the end of last year. So then what does he do? He says, you know what? I'm not going to sit out of football. I love football. This is what I love. I'm passionate about it. I'm going to go and, sit in under Clarko. Got a job under Clarko, and then Clarko steps away. So now he's the interim coach. Now, he hasn't been the interim coach just once.
Yeah.
He hasn't been the interim coach just twice.
No.
He's been the interim coach 3 times.
Poor fella.
Oh, that's 3 times like that. and he's also been sacked a couple of times the same way. And this bloke does not care. He's just like, yep, okay, you can knock me down, but I'm coming back. I believe in myself and what I'm doing. So for me, to all these people who are stepping away saying it all gets too hard, I'll tell you what, do yourself a favour, ring North Melbourne, get hold of Brett Ratton and see how do you do it? How does it get done the way you've been able to do it? So for me, right under Brett Ratton, he's able to now steer the ship at North Melbourne. And who knows what's going to happen with Clarko. But the way he's performing, North Melbourne just got done by, stiff to get done by Sydney. They were competitive against the Pies. So good luck to Brett Ratton. It's a spider bite kind of in reverse because I'm celebrating a bloke that says, stuff you to everyone else. I'm in this game and you can't tell me to go away.
No, that is... I think that's one of your best ones for the year. We need to celebrate some of these blokes that have been clipped and continue to keep getting back up. Also, I just want to mention last week, we mentioned a certain journalist, gave him a bit of a whack. Do you know what happened on Footy Classified last night?
Nah, put his foot in it again.
She come out and said, I was wrong. I'm sorry, Sam Mitchell.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well,
I thought hell's frozen over.
Yeah, well, that journo actually said sorry to me once. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, wrote a shit article about me, which most of them did. Don't get me wrong, but she did. Took years to apologise, but apologised for writing a crap article when she didn't know exactly the truth behind the person that I was.
Oh, that's good. Now, we've been calling for it all year. I've finally got a bit of an intro, Spider.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Who's in the money?
Well, it's time for the Brownlow medal tracker.
I love this. And I've jumped on a couple of these very early in the piece.
So, still at the top of the leaderboard, Clary Oliver, 17 votes. Yep.
Yeah.
He's at $12.
Did he get anything over the weekend? He was out.
Yeah, he's out for this week and next week, and then he's back in. Now we've got an equal leader.
Oh, your man. Is he?
He had to get 3 votes on Sunday against the Lions. Jordan Dawson.
Gee, he's your
17
man.
votes.
You are all over him.
I've been since the start of the year. Another reason I am is also put a cheeky 20 when he was at $26. So very happy at the moment.
Backing him. He's playing good footy though. He's an absolute leader, and I think a lot of clubs can take that leadership from him and make that a stance because he's stepped to a new level and he's bringing a heap of young kids with him. So at $11, very nice.
Now 16 votes. This is a heartbreaker. Zach Merritt only one off the leaders. Ineligible at the moment, but he's having his probably career best year and leading from the front. 15 votes. He got 1 on the weekend. His brother and Jordan Gout edged him out. Nick Dacos, 15 votes. He's at $3, so he's still there.
Still at $3. Very short. I think
that's too short for me.
Yeah, absolutely. When there's a lot of season ahead, as you say now, he's not matured enough to play 24 hard, consistent games of football. You know, as a young bloke, you normally take a couple of years to get that maturity. His first 10 games have been blistering, but it's the back end that counts. And, you know, that's when, you know, your Olivers, your DeGoeys, these blokes really step up, your Bontempellis. So it will be interesting. It's a good run home.
Now, also on 15 votes, Zach Butters. He's gone from over $60 3 weeks ago now into $8.
Yeah, well, he's leading by example, isn't he? He is every coach's dream to have at the moment. His work rate is just phenomenal. It's just amazing to watch him play. So absolutely good money. $8 though. Yeah,
14 votes. The Bont. So I couldn't give him obviously 3 or 2. You had Matt Rao on the weekend. You had Big Witsy. You had Noah Anderson. So I actually gave him 1 from the weekend, but I don't know. It's it's a bit hard.
It is hard.
14 votes. Christian Petrarca.
Yep.
He's at $8, and then 14 votes as well. Noah Anderson, $51.
Yeah, well, Noah Anderson and Rao could come in a fair bit. I think if they, play finals, if they've got a pretty good run home, if they continually. This weekend's going to be a massive test for them, but you're saying there's 3 votes separating the top 10, top 8 at the moment.
And then 13 votes, your man, Toby Green and Jordan DeGoey.
Oh, there you go. Okay. And
I think loose cannons there.
Yeah. So imagine those two out. Imagine those two Brownlow night if they come first and second.
Feel like Fev.
Yeah, I like it. I think there's a couple of very good bets there. Still, Jordan Dawson at $11 is a cracking bet. Adelaide are going to win a lot more games. Noah Anderson at 51, and
even Clayton Oliver at $12, leading at the moment.
Yeah, no, I love it. Plenty of money around.
But yeah, if you could bet on someone who's ineligible, I'd be going Zach Merritt at the moment. The Bombers have got a pretty good run home, and he's just polling votes in every game. He's consistent.
Yeah, I don't want to disappoint you, but then they're going to pay you out.
Yeah, I know.
You can put as much as you want. They'll probably take your money, but they're not going to pay you out.
No, of course.
So you should have. Why don't you run the ineligible?
We've got to learn how to say it first. I could barely say it as well.
I got no hope. I struggle. I passed. I didn't pass English in grade 3. I'm hopeless.
So last week we gave a certain let's just say we gave Cameron Mooney a bit of a clip for going into boxing and jumping on the card of the Zoo Bomber card, and we weren't the only one to give him a clip. Tommy Bellchambers gave him a big one and knocked him senseless.
Was a big hit. It was a big hit. I know the AFL worried about the concussion rule. Well, I know one thing, Cam Mooney, you can never sue the AFL because it was a massive hit. I didn't watch. I saw all the Fox Footy guys in the front row. I didn't see.
He didn't look good.
No, they were actually really concerned. They were all pumped up and giving him a bit of curry beforehand, but gee, he hit the deck hard, and it was. Yeah, look, it's a bit of a Mickey Mouse fight. Tommy Bellchambers looks like, Latrell Mitchell's chucked his hat in the ring to say, let's get AFL versus NRL. Now, I don't mind that if it's through the proper channels of doing it. You want to turn professional like Sonny Bill Williams, like Chock Mundine, like Paul Gallen, like Barry Hall. If you want to try and actually do that, absolutely do it. But the sad news, if we are talking a little bit about other sporting news and boxing news, Tim Zoo got bitten by a dog, and now he's in hospital, and he's going to probably miss out on his world title fight on the Gold Coast, which was going to be massive. And, I'm a massive Tim Zoo fan. I think he's an absolute jet, just like his brother Nikita. So, yeah, be spewing if that doesn't go ahead. We're still waiting after surgery to see how that unfolds, but I doubted it will.
Yeah, I just want to touch on one other thing in other sporting news, and that's Netball Australia at the moment. In my opinion, I think it's actually the worst run professional sports organisation in Australia, and we have to go, nearly the world in my opinion. But so as it stands right now, from all the 8 super teams in the Super Netball comp, every single player is off contract after the season. So this September, not a single player has a contract beyond that.
Is they cutting it? Are they just going to?
They're in that much financial trouble, Netball Australia at the moment. So, and the players and the hierarchy are in conversations at the moment. And a Netball Australia spokesperson came out and said, we acknowledge that this presents some challenges for players in their clubs. These women are not only the best players in the country, but they're the best players in the world. We've got people from Jamaica, people from England who are the best in the world playing in this league. Yet they've got no idea where they're going to be playing, if they're going to be playing this time next year. How can you play? Yeah, you go.
No, I like it. I think, it's like you just Netball Australia pay all the players, not the individual clubs.
No, sorry, because they've with the Suncorp Super Netball deal with Collingwood withdrawing now as well, it's going to be leaving it with a 7-team comp. Yeah, and the broadcast rights, it has to be an 8-team comp. So this year they made $300,000. Netball Australia for the Suncorp Super Netball League brought in $300,000 as a whole.
That is just, well, it looks like the Gold Coast Titans are going to put a Super Netball team in. So they might be able to fill that void. It was going to be for 3 or 4 years. Rumours is they might fast track that now and bring it in. But the silly thing is, and I know they all look at politics, they stuffed it up themselves about the Gina Reinhardt.
Everyone else can see that. It's $4 or $5 million, or however much it was, to be brought straight in. That's not only going to them, to, paying out these players, but it's going down to grassroots as well and filtering up. And
the biggest participation sport in Australia, or one of, netball, and you need that money to filter through to grassroots. You know what it's like. Your wife, she coaches netball in the local league, and it's a tough sport. It's hard to find the funding for it. So that is ridiculous. And I'd put another one now. I'd say they're probably Netball Australia is a photo finish with Rugby Australia.
Yeah, Rugby Union especially.
Rugby Union is a absolute. They're both dog bowls at the moment. I don't know which one I'd eat out
of. Neither. But just on that, how are you? Some of these women, they're mothers. They're full-time athletes. They've got partners. They're also trying to work on the side as well. How can you commit to a full-time sport when you don't even know if it's going to be a competition next year? And then there's also a Netball World Cup here in, I think it's July 28th to August the 6th. How can you even focus on that when you don't even know if you're going to have a job?
Yeah, if your paycheck's coming through next week, absolutely. You got to commit all this and then with no reward. Yeah, it's terrible. And, they all sit there and, bag the AFL about, female sport. They've been able to mastermind that beautifully at the moment, AFLW, and also the NRL. Well, they've got to start doing it at Netball Australia. Absolutely agree.
Right, we'll move on from that one now.
Yes.
We'll get into this week's games. And as if things couldn't get worse for the Blues, they're coming up against the Melbourne team who are desperate for a win.
Yeah, you'd have to. And look, I'm really reluctant to go Melbourne too. They haven't been great.
No.
But they need to get a win. Surely they'll get a win. Carlton will be, my mate declared it, Fields, Carlton won't lose last week. But, yeah, I think, Melbourne have got the backmen to cover their two big key forwards. They've got the midfield that they're able to sustain. And this could be really scary for Carlton. If they drop their heads in the first couple of minutes, this could be anything. So, for me, I'm going to stick with Melbourne.
Yeah. I think the main thing Blues want here, they want to see some fight from their side. It's easy to see that when things aren't going well, their body language is shit house.
Yeah.
Like Carlton, compared to other sides. I mean, you even look at North Melbourne and Hawthorn. When they're getting beaten, their body language
is still a chance.
A hell of a lot better than Carlton at the moment.
Yeah. Hawthorn's a prime example, I think, to look at that. So, but that confidence thing, it's just that the game's played above the shoulders, and as soon as that mindset kicks in, as you say, it's not hard to look enthusiastic and have a crack when you're playing at the top level, even if you are getting beaten. But it's the thoughts of, okay, what's the media going to be saying? What's the coach going to be saying? How's this going to unfold during the week? It's all this. How's team meeting going to be on Monday? All these aspects absolutely kick into your mind. It's a mind stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to go the Demons probably by 5 or 6 goals in this one.
Well, I've got the Demons, and I'll tell you by how much a little later on when I reckon I've got my bet of the week.
All rightio. Like to hear that one. West Coast Eagles versus Collingwood. Don't think much needs to be said about this. Who's kicking all the goals for the Pies? Put a number on it.
Oh, yeah, look, I reckon it's going to be well spread. I reckon I'd back 4 or 5 players to kick 2 goals apiece, open spaces of Optus, and they'll be able to run. They'll run hard. I think, your Dacos boys. I think the tough one is trying to pick who will get the 3 votes. Because it will be, I feel sorry for West Coast, but, Collingwood, realistically, they should win this by 100 points. And I know we say that a lot, but they actually should win it by 100 points.
Yep.
You'd be disappointed. You'd be a little bit disappointed if they don't.
I'm going to go the Pies, but there's one thing that I want to see that hasn't happened yet in his 100-game career. I want to see the big Cox kick 7 or 8, like a big bag for the big fella.
Yeah.
Because there's no one that's tall enough to stand him in that West Coast forward line.
What do you reckon he'd be doing by the end? Like, he'd be doing this to the crowd. He'd have everything going, wouldn't he?
He'd be doing the Conor McGregor walk up to the supporters, wouldn't he?
He would be strutting like no other. He will absolutely love it. Yeah, I'd love to see it. Big Coxie, kick 5.
Right. Actually, no, that's not going to be the big call for this week. Coxie's going to kick 6 or more.
Okay.
Right. Next game. This one's going to be really, really interesting. Western Bulldogs versus Geelong at Marvel Stadium.
Yeah, look, I as I said, there's a couple of games here I tossed and turned over for 2 hours, sitting there going, I've circled these ones, I've screwed up the paper, I've ripped it up, I've gone again. Going to be tough. The Western Bulldogs are good. They're a very good forward line, but the defensive side of Geelong can still stand up. And Geelong, with their backs to the wall, you've got to give them some credit at some stage. Yep. I'm going to stick with Geelong. I'm going to give them one more chance. They've got to bounce back. As good as the Bulldogs are, I still reckon Geelong, they've still got a potent forward line. They've still got enough out in the wings. I reckon there might be a couple of players change their positions. I'm going to stay with Geelong.
I think they're going to have to be honest, because that Western Bulldogs midfield can destroy you in a quarter. Like, it could be game over in a quarter. And with Bont, Libba, Caleb Daniel, he played a ripper last weekend. And I think one thing, if Geelong are going to win, I'd love to see Jeremy Cameron get chucked in the guts at the moment, because the ball's just not getting up to him at the moment. They're getting beaten, in the clearances. He's a big body. He can run all day. Just get it up to Hawk. Let Hawk do the rest.
Even play on the wing. Just try something a little bit different. Yeah, mix it up. Absolutely, yeah. So for me, I'm going to stick with the Cats. It's a tough one, though.
It is. Anyone can win that one. We'll move on to GWS versus...
What about Port Adelaide and Hawthorn?
I must have got cut off mine.
yeah. Port Adelaide and Hawthorn, Adelaide Oval, 1:45 on Saturday.
Yep, no, that's cut off. It's right. I bet
Port
not.
Adelaide.
I'll be in a fair bit of trouble here if I forget that one here in South Australia. But yes,
Absolutely.
Port Adelaide, Hawthorn, Adelaide Oval. Now, who's going to win this one?
Again, another tough game. Like, this is a cracker again. But look, Port Adelaide at home. I think Adelaide and Port Adelaide at home are 4 or 5 goal better team. Hawthorn, big challenge. Can they back up what they delivered last week? I think they'll be good, but they're not going to be good enough. I think, Port Adelaide across the ground. And Port Adelaide, I think, are a little bit stronger than what St Kilda are anyway, at their best and in the form they're in. So they're in a zone at the moment. We love it. I'm going to stick with Port Adelaide. When's Charlie? When's Big Charlie back?
I think he'll be back after the buys.
Okay.
For the Power. But young Ollie Lord, he's really stood up for the Power as a bit of a young fella who was a bit raw at the start of the year. He's starting to get a bit of mongrel about him and typical Port Adelaide play. And I think it's really good to see these young fellas stepping up for Port and in a successful side. That's probably been their weak spot when Charlie has gone down in previous years. They've struggled to kick a winning score.
They have. Without Charlie, they would never be able to get it forward, past that dominant half forward line. So, yeah, absolutely. And that's, sometimes when these injuries come, and we're talking on the other foot with Geelong, you haven't got the depth, where now Port Adelaide start to have a couple of players they can pick and choose, and players then have to work harder to get into the ones and stay in the ones. So, yeah, for me, Port Adelaide.
Yep, me too. Now, GWS versus Richmond.
Oh, gee, what a game. What some cracking games. Like, nothing that you sit there, like the Western Bulldogs and Geelong, 2 teams, you think, but then GWS and Richmond, but cracking games. Like, Taranto playing against his old side.
And Hopper.
And then, look, Toby Green, what he's been able to do. I sit there and go, where's this going to end? Who's going to be a really, really good chance here? Richmond can get that ball forward. They are a running machine, and I reckon they took a little bit of it out of last week. They're just going to be able to do it for 4 quarters. The Giants, they got enough, but they do rely too heavily on their top few. Yep. And I'm gonna stick with Richmond. I reckon Richmond can do the ball over here, so I'm going to stick with the Tigers. As I say, 2 hours ago, I circled GWS and I rubbed it out through that in the bin, and I'm going the Tigers. And you've got to make a call at some stage. And my call is I'm going to stick with the Tigers.
Yeah, I'm going to go the Giants in this one, but Tim Taranto best on ground again in a losing team. So,
yeah, he's been great. How old is Timmy? 24?
He'd be mid-20s, I reckon.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But he's playing the best football of his career, obviously down there for Richmond at the moment. And he just works so hard, which is obviously, I think, that was one of his keys when he was up in GWS. But now that he's come down to Richmond and big club as well, a lot of eyes, his work rate is second to none in the AFL.
Yeah. And Richmond's got the quality on the outside as well. Jack Rewalt, that's the big question at the moment.
Yeah.
What are they? Tommy Lynch to come back. He's still a couple of weeks away. So, yeah, to be honest, I think they're better off getting rid, telling Jack to have a rest.
Yeah,
maybe trying something a little bit different up forward there. We know Dusty can win one out, and he's starting to buy a little bit of form. Even put Cochin down there. I don't know.
Samson Ryan, big young fella.
Yeah, they need something else other than Rewald at the moment.
They do. And final game of the round, obviously there's the buys this weekend for several clubs. Essendon versus North Melbourne at Marvel. I think this will be a bit of a tight one, but I think Essendon just a little bit too good in the end.
Danger game. It's a danger game, If North Melbourne up and running and Essendon is just 5 or 6% off their best, it can be dangerous. But I think the Bombers get the job done. I reckon they'll end up winning pretty easy. I don't think the Bombers will let this one slip. They'll go into the bye and have a good break and be able to regather their thoughts. But for me, the Bombers, North Melbourne, they will be competitive, but the Bombers will win pretty easy.
Yep. So your big call for the weekend. What do we got here, Spide?
Well, again, I reckon these teams are getting by 40 plus.
40 plus, these teams.
40 plus. And then you had that little tune about money. This will pay. This will pay about $21. I reckon Melbourne, Port Adelaide, the Bombers, and the Pies will win by 40 plus.
Wow.
So really, you'd expect Melbourne, if they get on early, you know what they can do. and a team that's got no confidence at all. You got Port Adelaide, who can beat Hawthorn. Are going, they won last week, but still definitely beatable in Adelaide. And then you got West Coast, Collingwood that will get over West Coast.
Yeah.
And, you'd expect the Bombers to get over North.
Yeah.
So that's my bet of the weekend.
Good one. And mine's Big Coxie to get 6.
6+.
Yep. 6 for and next week we will finally release our All-Australian halfway through the season teams.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, one thing I did want to mention just before we go is check out the socials, because your Victorian team, the South Australian team, and your WA team, absolute crackers. Yeah. Worth having a look at, worth trying to work out how they all fit and how they unfold and who would win, because all of those teams have got the right to say, you know what, we're a bit of a powerhouse.
Yeah. I just love that South Australian half back line up against the Victorian half forward line. So, you had big Brendan Cox, who's centre half back, nearly all Australian contention for Freo this year. Yeah. You had Mason Redmond and Jordan Dawson up against, a Zach Butters, a Jeremy Cameron, and probably about 50, and a Jack Strenger or a Jordan DeGoey. Yeah.
And look, you'd love to see, even if, what we need? We need to be able to put it in a computer system and see what it spits out. Okay, who would win and why? So
maybe that's a job for AFL 23. I'll create a team on there and just put it on computer and see who wins.
See who wins. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because I love them. Check out the socials. Have a look at those teams, because there's a lot of work going into those. Not only that, it's fascinating to look at.
And also the South Australian team, probably they've snagged the most informed coach in the AFL, Craig McRae, former Cornell boy.
Absolutely. I love it. What was your theory? They had to be drafted from that state, not where they were born.
Yep. So they had to be drafted because there's a lot of, people who they were born in South Australia, but they moved to Victoria for something like Braden Maynard when he was 6 or 7. So there's no point in him playing for South Australia when he spent no time there, played no footy there. Yeah. So, and like Charlie Cameron, born in Queensland, but was drafted from Swan Districts in Western Australia. So, he could be in Allies or...
you got to make a choice.
Western Australian.
You got to make a choice some stage at which way you go. And I love it. And just for all the punters out there, for the money, for Big Coxie to kick 6, $71.
Jump on. Easy money, everyone. Easy money.
That's $71. And for him to kick 5, it's only 19. So he needs the 6.
He'll do it. I'm gonna put a little bit on there for him, and that might be my intro music next week as a money.
You'll have another half a dozen of those purple hazes.
Oh, I'm nearly finished this one, so I better jump into another one. Anyway, that's all we got time for this week, guys. Tune in next week. Cheers.
This has been the Third Man Up podcast. To hear more, make sure you follow and subscribe, or find us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter @Australia Sports.